Hello students, in this video I am going to talk about the Rajput policy of the Mughals and mainly from Akbar to Aurangzeb's time. So we know that during Akbar's time the Mughal Empire was consolidated and many new areas were added to the Mughal Empire. Of these, Rajput were one of the most prominent polities that became part of the Mughal Empire in his time. So Akbar's Rajput policy was very innovative. He was not the first ruler who would add Hindu officials into the nobility, but Akbar used the service of the Rajputs very systematically and by that way strengthened his empire. Even during his father's time, there were several Rajput polities that were friendly. So one is Varamal of Kachawaha. He was a close friend of Humayun and he continued to serve in Akbar's court. He and his family continued to serve in Akbar's court. So what Akbar did is that he started either annexing areas or having matrimonial alliance with the Rajput so that they become his subsidiary or his alliance. So with that policy, he added as many as 43 Hindu nobilities in his court by 1580, and many of them were Rajputs. This happened because at this particular time many Rajput kingdoms also started seeking alliance from the Mughals, as they realized that the Mughals were quite strong at this particular time. So the areas that were annexed by the Mughals were retained by the family, by the Rajput family, and in return they had to offer military service to the Mughal Empire, and the Mughal Emperor was the sovereign in these areas. So Akbar introduced certain ceremonies like the Tika ceremony, through which he marked he validated the position of the newly conquered Rajput area, and the erstwhile Rajput ruler was given some kind of mansab. Mansab were hereditary or vatan. So here the Raja can rule his territory as a mansabdar, and in return he had to offer some peshkas to the emperor. These peshkas were basically gifts. So it was a mutually beneficial system where the ruler would rule the same area, but at the same time they would also serve the Mughal ruler. However, in some other areas that were annexed into the Mughal territory, Akbar would appoint non-Rajput officials as well. So it was not necessary that the same family would be appointed as Mansabdar. Sometimes he would also appoint non-Hindu, non-Rajput as Pargana, Mansabdar of that area. Along with that, he also added extra Pargana to the Vatan Jagir, Vatan Mansab. Basically here the hereditary Mansab was called Vatan. Here sometimes he would also add additional Pargana. So these were kind of additional income provided to the Rajput nobility. So both Rajput and non-Rajput Mansabdars were appointed in these newly conquered areas erstwhile ruled by the Rajput. This association with the Mughals did not change the brotherhood code amongst the Rajputs. The Rajput Thakurs also established matrimonial alliances with the Mughal family. However, many Rajput, like the Mewar prince, they believed that it was disgraceful to have matrimonial relation with the Mughals. So most of the Rajput families had matrimonial relation with the Mughals. Overall, Akbar was very successful in his Rajput policy because he managed to win the loyalty of many of the Rajput Thakurs, and they also served in making the Mughal Empire a multi-regional empire. Akbar's Rajput policy continued to a great extent during Jahangir and Shah Jahan's time. The Rajputs were appointed in the Mughal nobility for a very long time during Jahangir and Shah Jahan's time. We see some new areas being annexed by Shah Jahan. So one is the Baglana kingdom in 1636, and then in 1656 Shah Jahan conquered Garhwali Rajputs. So despite that, Rajputs continued to have privileged position in the Mughal nobility. We see some changes in the Rajput policy during Aurangzeb's time. So Aurangzeb started reduced the number of Rajputs in the higher ranking officials in Mughal court, and at the same time he also tried to reduce the holdings of hereditary Khalisa land. So that means there were many land that were hereditary in nature. So if a family did not have a male heir, so what Aurangzeb did is that he shifted that land hand to somebody else or some other Mansabdar. So he tried to break the privilege of the Rajputs that they enjoyed so far. This also led to displeasure amongst some Rajputs. So we see some some attempted rebellion from Marwar and Rathors. And when Aurangzeb's son Akbar rebelled against Aurangzeb, many Rajput principality actually helped Akbar. And after Aurangzeb's death, many Rajput principalities started ruling independently, even though they used the name of the Mughals or name of the Mughal authority, but they practically started ruling independently. So what we see is that the Rajput policy of the Mughals was not uniform. So during Akbar's time, he devised a policy through which he managed to expand the empire and win over the loyalty of most of the Rajput groups. And this policy to a great extent was continued during Jahangir and Shah Jahan's time, and giving higher ranks in the nobility to the Rajputs meant accommodating them in the service. In case of Aurangzeb's time, he reduced the number of nobility, Mughal Rajput nobility in his amongst his higher ranking officials. At the same time, the empire that was created during Aurangzeb's time was also very large. So it was at the extreme size during Aurangzeb's reign. So perhaps that was the reason that he had to accommodate many more ethnic groups in his kingdom, that he had to reduce the number of nobility, Rajput nobility. So what we can see is that the Rajput policy was not uniform in these years, and it changed from Akbar to Aurangzeb's time. And after Aurangzeb's death, the Mughal empire started becoming weak, and the Rajput principality started taking opportunity and started ruling independently.